You're 19 at a gas station off the interstate, holding a gasoline pump nozzle while the numbers climb. Years later, you clear $275,000 in a high year. That nozzle is the last 3 feet of a machine you've never seen. Direct refinery jobs average $334,000 a year in total compensation, benefits included. The U.S. average is $97,000. All of it moves through 130 operable refineries. 128 are actually running. This is every level of a refinery process operator's career in America, and what it costs to climb. If you like breakdowns of how careers actually progress, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Level 1. The training room. You're on refinery property and nobody has let you touch anything yet. The North American Process Technology Alliance recommends a 2-year degree with an 8-course technical core to put you in this chair. It's a pathway, not a law. On the table sits a process flow graphic, a standard operating procedure, and a P&ID the size of a bedsheet. You trace a line from a tank to a pump to a tower without lifting your finger off the paper. The gear comes next. Hard hat, fire-retardant clothing, eye protection, respirator, direct reading gas monitor. You clip the monitor to your collar because that's the height of the air you breathe. The training runs in order. Process safety information first, then the limits, then the operating phases, startup, normal, shutdown, emergency, and only then safe work practices. Last comes a supervised qualification sign-off. That signature is the only thing that turns any of this into authorized work. OSHA put the requirement into federal rule in 1992. You'll take refresher training at least every 3 years for as long as you do this job. An instructor asks what happens if the level in the tower keeps climbing. You give the textbook answer. He asks what you'd smell first, and you don't have one. You miss a valve on the walk down that afternoon. The trainer walks you back to the tank and makes you start the whole line over. You quit checking the legend on the diagram. The next walk down. You name every symbol out loud before he asks. The tower is taller than the drawing suggested. Then it's quiet again. Your qualification sign-off comes through. A foreman writes your name on the shift board for the first time. Nobody outside the fence would recognize your job title yet. Inside the fence, it's the only one that matters. Level 2 is where somebody hands you a radio and waits for an answer. Level 2. The assistant operator. A 2-way radio goes on your belt and the plant starts using your name. At Ferndale, Washington, the posted rate starts at $40.94 per hour. Within your first year, it can reach $51 per hour. The collective bargaining agreement sets both numbers, not your supervisor. Your shift begins with a status handoff from the operator going home. Then you walk the unit. You read every field gauge on the route and write the number down even when it hasn't moved. You crack a bleeder valve and fill a sample container for the lab. The direct reading gas monitor on your collar chirps once near a flange, then goes quiet. You note it anyway. Halfway through the round, a pump is running hotter than the sheet says it should. You report the deviation on the radio, and the console tells you to write it up. The work order goes in with a line number, a reading, and a time. 2 days later, maintenance pulls a work permit against your write-up and finds the bearing going. Nobody thanks you. The console operator starts asking for you by name on the next shift. Heat comes off the equipment in a wall you can feel through fire-retardant clothing. Vibration comes up through the deck plate, into your boots. In winter, the same route is ice and wind. The handrails are cold enough to burn through a glove, and the fire brigade drills happen anyway. Jameson Richardson, a field equipment operator at Marathon Petroleum's Detroit Refinery, is documented learning exactly this, the process, and how the equipment works. You stop counting the stairs in the unit. Then, the round is just the round. Your name goes on the qualification list for the outside board. The unit you've been walking is about to become the unit you answer for. Level 3 is where somebody hands you a lock and a tag. Level 3. The qualified outside operator. The lock and tag are yours now, and so is what happens if you hang them wrong. The median for this occupation in petroleum and coal products manufacturing is $103,160 per year. That number does not tell you what the day is. The day is a patrol. You walk units and tank fields checking for leaks, and you write work requests for what you find. Dinita McCaskill, a field operator at Marathon Petroleum's Detroit Refinery, does this on crude processing equipment, and says the point is catching problems early. Early is the whole discipline. A pump seal has to come out of service, and maintenance can't touch it until you've built the boundary. You identify the equipment against the drawing. You verify the procedure and pull the work permit. You isolate the energy and the process, valve by valve, and hang the lockout tagout lock and tag on every point that could feed the seal you're opening. You drain and depressure to the low point. You run a gas test with the portable gas monitor and read the result out loud on the radio. Only then does the maintenance handoff happen. You stay on the boundary while they work. When it goes back together, you verify and restore, and you tell the console in the same words you used going in. That is a verified maintenance boundary, and it's the whole job in one sequence. Then there's the part nobody prints on a recruitment page. On a walkdown, you find corrosion under insulation. On a line that isn't on anybody's list, you write it up. Nothing happens for a week. At a refinery in Delaware City, an operator filed an unsafe condition report on corroded tanks and a bad inerting blanketing hose. The U.S. Chemical Safety Board found no corrective action was taken. In 2012, at Chevron's Richmond refinery, a line was leaking and the procedure said, "Shut the unit down." It wasn't shut down, and the fire that followed is still a case study. So you don't let yours sit. You take the write-up to the console, then to the shift office, then onto the turnaround list with a photograph attached. The line comes out on the next outage. Sphera surveyed 230 process safety and operational risk practitioners. 40% said their organizations manage process safety proactively. 73% said companies were not actively managing risk or driving it through planning. You start writing the report before you finish the round. The radio is quiet. Weather, contaminants, temperature extremes, and industrial noise are the standing conditions of this job, and none of them are the hard part. The hard part is deciding something is wrong before it looks wrong. Level 4 is where you stop walking the unit and start running it from a screen. Level 4. The board operator. Tara Chippewa, an operator at Marathon Petroleum's Detroit Refinery, describes the step plainly. 2 years in the field, then 6 months of board training. You sit in a control room and the unit arrives as numbers. Temperature, pressure, flow, level. You hold them where the procedure says, and you move them when it says to. The DCS screens carry the trend display and the alarm list. The operator log sits beside your keyboard, and Microsoft Outlook is open behind everything like it is in every office in America. The average inside operator at a U.S. refinery makes about $50 per hour. The overtime is where that number actually moves. An alarm comes in and you don't touch a control yet. You pull the trend and see how long the variable has been drifting. You check it against the limit. You raise the field on the radio and ask a human being to put eyes on the equipment. He confirms what he's looking at, you make the only adjustment the procedure permits, and you write the whole exchange into the log with a time on it. Then you hand it to the next shift in your own words. That sequence is the entire craft. The reason it's a craft is what happens when the sequence breaks. Before the 2022 fire at a refinery near Toledo, Ohio, board operators worked through 3,712 alarms in nearly 12 hours. An alarm flood isn't a warning. It's noise you have to think through. You stop flinching when the horn opens up. The good version of this level is quieter, and it's the one that happens most days. Alex Trejo runs the control board at Marathon Petroleum's El Paso, Texas refinery. He used the refinery's own fire and rescue training to pull a driver out of a burning car and put the fire out. The training goes home with you. In 2021, the Detroit refinery took an Industry Innovation Award for smartphone apps that helped operators work more safely. Somewhere off the interstate, a gasoline pump nozzle clicks off in someone's tank, and every set point behind it crossed your screen tonight. The screen is still. Level 5 is where the radio starts calling you instead. Level 5. The shift foreman. A posting at Billings, Montana asks for 3 years of relevant operations experience and prefers 5 or more, plus leadership. Base salary on that posting runs $125,100 to $152,900. The raise is real, and it's not what changed. What changed is that the shift log is now a document you sign. Brian Cheney is documented at Marathon Petroleum's Detroit refinery as a process control operator in 2022 and a shift foreman in 2023. That's how fast the step happens when a site decides you're ready. Your shift opens with the handoff and the performance dashboard. You set priorities against the staffing and work schedule. You read the maintenance work list and decide what actually gets a permit tonight. Then you go outside and look at it yourself. A turnaround, the plant torn open and put back together, is the hardest version of this. The plant isn't running normally, which is the definition of a transient operation, and transient is when things go wrong. A pre-startup safety review has to close before anything comes back up. A management of change has to be signed before anything comes back different. So you run the closeout the boring way. Every permit is returned, every isolation is accounted for, and every line is walked and signed for before the next crew ever touches the unit. Marathon reports its 2018 Galveston Bay Refinery turnaround finished ahead of schedule and under budget. Its 2017 Gulf Coast turnaround program did the same, with safety and environmental performance the company called exemplary. Nobody films that. You quit carrying the radio home. The next crew takes the unit, and nothing you left them is a surprise. Then the lot is empty. Level 6 is where the plant stops being a unit and starts being a business. Level 6. The Operations Manager. Marcus Garvin runs operations at Marathon Petroleum's Catlettsburg Refinery, and he got there from shift foreman in 7 years. The annual mean for general and operations managers in petroleum and coal products manufacturing is $176,140. You don't touch a valve again. Your props are a performance report, a staffing plan, a production plan, and a budget and resource plan. Process hazard analysis and management of change records sit in the same stack. Microsoft Excel is open more hours a day than any control screen ever was. The cycle repeats every week. You review performance, name the constraint, align the supervisors and the resources, approve the priorities and the changes, then watch the risk instead of the output. Sometimes you stop production. That decision is the part of this job that's actually yours. Austin Fontenot came up through operations roles at the same company and ended up a refinery general manager. The ladder doesn't stop where you're standing. During the Detroit Refinery's 2024 major plant-wide turnaround, site leaders showed up to start of shift meetings, toolbox talks, and safety walks. The site took the American Fuel and Petrochemical Manufacturers Distinguished Safety Award, which the company describes as top 1%. Leatha Hallmark, Detroit's vice president of refining, tied it to safe and reliable operations. Eric Honeyman is credited with first quartile Solomon performance at that site across 2011 through 2021. A frontline concern now reaches a decision in hours instead of outages. For scale, the largest refinery in the country, at Port Arthur, Texas, runs 656,400 barrels per calendar day. You aren't running that one. You're running one, which is a sentence almost nobody gets to say. You stop reading the shift log at midnight. The office is warm. What's left is the part of the ladder that doesn't appear on any org chart. Final beat. Here's what the org chart doesn't show. The board operator you were at level 4 can out-earn the manager you became at level 6. Overtime, turnaround assignments and special project pay stack onto an hourly rate in a way a salary can't. A senior operator in Washington State reports $190,000 to $275,000 a year, depending on the year and the assignments. The manager's mean is $176,140. Promotion here isn't a money ladder. It's a responsibility ladder. And the two are priced separately, which means the climb was never really about the number. The EY Future of Energy survey reached 1,020 energy respondents. 85% of oil, gas, and chemicals executives said reskilling capability will decide who succeeds. 29% said their companies currently retrain existing employees. You were hired into the 29%. Now you decide who else gets in. You've missed birthdays to turnarounds you can still name by year. You'd take the same shifts again, and the crew that took them off you knows exactly why. The classroom you sat in at level 1 teaches a qualification standard you signed. The lock and tag you hung at level 3 hang on a wall of them, and a new hire is being taught to set them the same way. The alarm list you learned to read is on a screen somebody else is watching tonight. And the gasoline pump nozzle you held at 19 is still the last 3 feet of the machine. The difference is that you know what's behind it. For the first time, you can see the whole machine without standing beside any single piece of it. Every tower, every seal, every permit, every handoff resolves into one document on your desk that says what this plant will make. Then it's quiet. You sign the production plan. Every nozzle downstream of this refinery runs on what's on that page.